Where are all the Christmas decorations? This. Christmas in July. Is it even really a thing? Before I moved to Australia, I hadn't even heard about Christmas in July. So before you move to Australia, what do you need to know about Christmas in July? And is it something that you're going to get involved in? Do you even really need 2 Christmases in a year? I know I don't need to get the decorations out twice. It's more than enough just doing it once in the year. I mean, Sam does it. But I'm the one that has to get all the decorations out. When you move to Australia and you experience your first winter, you'll automatically wonder why everyone else is apparently freezing. You'll just look at them and wonder why you're mildly perspiring in your t-shirt and shorts, what all the fuss is about. This is the reason why some people in Australia, and other Australians, choose to celebrate the seemingly weird tradition of Christmas in July. The Christmas in July tradition is said to have been started out by some Irish tourists who wanted to experience Christmas in a colder climate. Well, if you want to do that, mate, just go back to the Northern Hemisphere. But like almost every migrant to Australia, they always feel a bit entitled to bring something of home with them. Now, for those of you that don't know about Australian climatic extremes, Australia does have a winter, and it does get colder. And particularly in the inland areas, or the mountainous areas like the Blue Mountains, it can easily drop below 0. So to save yourself sweating your ass off, cooking all day something traditional, Christmas in July is the celebration in a slightly cooler times where you can wear perhaps a loud woolly monstrosity instead of having to sport a Christmas t-shirt. Exactly how cold is it in winter? Now, it doesn't exactly look cold out here today. I mean, look at the state of that. I'm squinting. Now, Christmas in the bleak of midwinter in the UK, I get it. Like when it's so dark outside and you've got nothing to look forward to, a modern paganised celebration with loads of twinkly lights seems like a good idea. But if you live in a country with even just a little bit of sunshine like this, then why would you need to celebrate in the darkness? You don't. You just go to the beach, I guess. I guess it comes down to preferences, really. If it was less than 10 degrees outside, probably colder, you'd want to spend it inside all day getting drunk. But when it looks like this, which is basically a warm summer's day in the UK, I don't know. Which one would you rather prefer? Aurora, do you like Christmas in July?
Yeah.
Do you even know what it is?
No.
Do you even care? When's Christmas for you?
I don't know.
And there you have it. Kids don't care about Christmas in July. Now, I know what you're thinking. Christmas isn't all about the weather. It's about all those Christmassy festivals and places that you can go to, like Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park. Yeah, I went there a few times. Let's face it, it's overpriced and not that great. Yet another example of how if you make the weather so rubbish, people will nearly bend over backwards to pay about £8 for a pint so they can stand in a cold tent and eat an overpriced German sausage. Merry Christmas! But here in sunny Australia, those traditions have also transferred here. You don't have to go too far in any of the major cities to find a Christmas in July celebration. Some places like Sovereign Hills just outside of Melbourne even go all out. They have them in Brisbane here too. And I guess, yes, in July, having a nice little break up with something a little bit more Christmassy is a welcome thing if that's what you're into. We even found a random Christmas shop on the way to Maryborough. It was just there, sat on the side of the road, selling a plethora of random Christmas tat. It was joyful. My daughters found it glorious, yet slightly confusing. And for the kids, a little bit of sparkle. It was a nice little break. The baby loved it. I know this is sounding slightly anti-Christmas in July at the moment, but stick with me, there are some good reasons to have Christmas in July. Now, the one good thing about Christmas in July, if you're into the shopping, is sales. Christmas in July also coincides very nicely with the end of financial year sales. So businesses just go all out at this time of the year to try and help you part with your money. To be fair, this is probably the time of the year that you should buy all of your Christmas presents. You'd save an absolute fortune. So if you hate the capitalist nature of Christmas, unfortunately you're not going to escape it with Christmas in July. If anything, it's going to get worse. You're going to get it twice in a year. Or you could just use my tip and save yourself some money at the real Christmas. Now, not every part of Australia celebrates Christmas in July. Just like not every person who's watching this video is currently living in Australia. But if it's your dream to come to Australia and celebrate these non-Christmassy traditions, and maybe spend a bit of money and help out with the economy, then the first thing you're going to need, rather than a Yuletide spirit, is a visa. And despite probably how many times I've said it, I still get messages like this. So if that's you, you might want to go and speak to our friends True Blue Migration Services. Mention us and take advantage of their free visa assessment. Now, they're not going to ask you about your midwinter preferences, but they will let you know what your best options are for moving to Australia so you can try out Christmas in July for yourself. And let's face it, once you get here, you're probably not going to flood to one of the more preferable, colder Australian Australian cities, like Sydney or Melbourne, although most do. Or if that is what you're into, you could realise that Christmas in July is more popular in the colder winters, where the weather probably mimics a colder northern hemisphere winter. I mean, it gets colder, it just doesn't get really cold. Or if this really is a British thing, you could go to Perth, where they're pretty much all British there anyway. But for tropical Australians, this can just be another excuse to have a beer in the sunshine, where it's not cold, it's just less hot. As if those in the Northern Territory needed an extra excuse to get pissed. If you are looking for some particularly Christmas in July places to go in Australia, then you might consider one of the many skiing resorts, like Perisher. Now yes, you are probably going to get one of your traditionally Christmassy feelings, with snow and skiing. Personally, I can't think of anything worse. And then when you compound that with the fact that pretty much every other bugger is going to try and do the same thing, probably not for Christmas in July, then you'll soon liken it to the Winter Wonderland problems in the UK. Queuing up for ages just to go on the basic things that you paid for, then paying silly money for a bit of liquid refreshment and some sustenance. Too many people queuing around in the cold for overpriced festive shit. That definitely sounds like a Northern Hemisphere Christmas to me. Now, one thing you are going to have to remember is that Christmas in July isn't a public holiday. There is no religious significance. I don't even know if Jesus did anything interesting in July. It's just like a themed party or an event, rather than an official celebration. And because of that, they don't really even hold it on the 25th of July. It's more like an entitled young woman's birthday where they just kind of spread it out over the whole month. I mean, some people, they do hang on to the date. But if you're waiting around for the country just to temporarily stop like it does at Christmas, stop being a weirdo. If you want to have your Christmas in July on the second weekend in July, because that's what fits your social calendar, then do it. No one is even going to tell you if you wanted to do a bit of Christmas in July and June, because that's when the kids' school holidays are and you'd rather do it then. And if you don't want to do Christmas in July because you think it's weird, then that's okay too. Do what you want to do, as long as it isn't at the expense of others. Especially if it's a bit of fun. That seems like a very Australian thing to do if you ask me. Who needs the label of Christmas anyway? We've already got December for that. And if you want to see what a Christmas in December is like, where I'm wearing the same t-shirt, then watch this video. See you soon.